Hello.
Good morning, Magnus. How are you?
I'm very well. It's so good to be here. I'm really excited because I get to sit here and listen to some great architects today. It's one of my favorite things to learn from friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think everybody, welcome to the Software Architecture Virtual Conference. My name is Mahesh Chan. I am speaking from Philadelphia here in USA.
Yeah.
It's a nice weather, sunny, 80 degrees. Um, we still have some coronavirus cases going on. Looks like things are looking a little bit better.
Yeah.
There's already, some other issues going on, but today we are not here to talk about. How's everything there in Malmo, Sweden?
It's really good actually. So it's a sunny afternoon here. It's Friday afternoon. Everything is lovely. And we have, expectations of a warm and nice summer and things ahead. Things are looking up and up, I would say, all in all. There has been, of course, some disturbances, and the reason we're not traveling, right? This would have been nice to have as a physical conference to meet up, but I guess
Right.
no one is doing that right now. We're all virtual. So being virtual is pretty exciting as well because you get to very easily connect with some good friends. We have a good strong lineup of really good software architects here today, right? We're gonna cover the software architecture spectrum in many different ways. We're gonna try to shine a light on this field, this work role of software architect.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this is all about because software architect is one of the, most popular, most paying role in the software world, right? Everybody wants to be either an architect or a project manager.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. A little bit, you want to share your experience as an architect?
Yes, I was gonna say I think just a little like a few years ago, I think software specialist or software architect became the most sought after work role in the world. It passed by things that have been, for decades have been dominating, like airline pilot and doctor and, physical physician, right? Surgeon. Those kinds of work roles have been dominating in many years. But now software architecture is on top. And that's a very exciting role that many people want to work with. And I've had the opportunity to work in this field now for decade and a half, and it's a wonderful field to work in. So really, that it's an exciting area, and I'm happy to be able to share some of that here today.
Great, great. So yeah, let's you wanna start with the slides. Let's
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about a little bit. I
We have
think first you and
yeah,
I going to talk about what a software architect really is, what they do as in software architects, what they do, what their job is, day-to-day job,
yeah,
and we'll share some of our experience. I
sure.
myself, he be, I was lucky. I start, when I would start working, I worked in a, smaller companies. When
Hmm.
you work with the smaller companies, you end up direct working with the customers, direct working with the owners, stakeholders, and you start building your, your own ideas and innovation, and then that's how you kind of, that's the first step towards being a software architect. So
Absolutely. I get that. I was fortunate as well. I suppose I started as a developer. Obviously, that's the entry point. I was a developer, and I started moving more and more towards, with experience, more responsibilities added. And I found that architecture is actually, I thought I was going to become a building architect once to build physical buildings, but
yes.
then I decided maybe not to pursue that as a career path. But then when I joined and the other field of developer, I came into this field, and then I decided maybe architecture in software was the way to go instead. So that's pretty cool.
There you go.
Uh, Define wise, um, when
Yeah,
you are
so
yeah,
what
when you
is software architecture, right? When you
are
think of software architecture, what
yeah,
is it? Let's just, yeah.
yeah. So when you define what kind of what software architecture is, it's obviously different from building architecture. It's a very physical thing when you build a bridge or a house or something. But software architecture is more like a map of what you can build in terms of a software system, more of how it's built, how it's supposed to be built, and how it works and how it hangs together. And it's quite different from architecting a building, of course.
Yep.
But it's a very important and central piece of any construction that you ever make, because without it, you're going to be pretty lost when you won't have a shared vision, a shared goal when you're building something. So it's a very important piece. So the question is, why is it so important? So I'd like to check with you, which you had some really strong visions there in terms of that it has to be something that you build that we can actually create in the first place, right?
Right. So when you build a software, right, you said building, like real building or house, or, you can kind of compare some parts of that with the software also. When you see the software, first, it's important because you need to think about whatever you're building. Is it feasible? Let's start with some of the properties, right? You have to look at, as an architect, you look at, is it feasible? Feasible means the company or the owner you are building a software for, can they really pay for that, right? You cannot build something if there's no money for that. So feasibility is very important. Feasibility includes not only just financial, but also from the resource and time perspective and technology perspective, right?
Yeah.
Then
it's very
then,
exciting to try to build something, very complete and very complex, but along those lines, not only feasible to actually build within the budget frames and time frames that you have, but with these properties as well, simplicity and friendliness are also incredibly important.
Yeah, software has to be simple. Simple, I mean, it doesn't mean simple doesn't mean the functionality wise, but imagine if software is, when you architect a software, it's not just for you or your current team. This software may be running for 5 years, 10 years, right? On C# Corner, we wrote this product in 2003, and it still works, right? So you have to look at that when you're building something. It's simple, so anybody, new developers join the team, they can easily understand that. You don't want to complicate things if it doesn't need to be, right? It has to be friendly, because during the time it's going to change and it's going to start talking to other software as well. And now obviously it depends on the software. Some are just simple software, some are just simple console app, right? Some are just web services. They have certain roles to play, but anything we design, make sure they're simple and friendly. Friendly means they can communicate and talk to other software as well.
So I was thinking about those things when you said this earlier to me, that when you reach a certain point with a product, it's time to let it go. It could be that it's something that's running for more like a let's say you're running some kind of a campaign software. Maybe you can build it quick and relatively dirty because you're just using it for a short period of time. But that's not the reality for many software systems. The reality for lots of them is that they are actually targeting longevity, that they could stay around for quite a long time. So obviously, if you're building one or the other, it depends on how solid you build the structure. But if you're building something that's going to be around for a long time, it needs to have that sustainability property that you talked about.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And so now that you've built something, we were able to build it. It was feasible. You could build it. It's out there. It's running, and it's stable. It seems like it's working. Here's a problem. How can you be super successful? I know some of the story behind the scale of C# Corner, right? It started out pretty small, and then it grew into millions and millions of visitors and millions of bloody users and everything. It's crazy, right? It's huge. And you had some scalability challenges with it.
Yeah, if you are when we are architecting a new software, you have to think of users. Who is the user? How many users? What is the potential, right? Some softwares, they're designed just to work for few people only, right? But if you're building a web application or website like C# Corner, there can be millions of users using it every month, right?
Exactly.
Look at Facebook, and look at Facebook. There's literally 2.6 billion people use
Yep.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook
So
had to go so far as to start building their own data centers, which is of course
exactly.
a unique extreme in the world, but still, most
Yeah,
of us.
and so that's why, when you are designing this, architecture, you have to look at that and make sure it's scalable and expandable, right?
This is
You
the
know,
challenge, right? It starts
yeah,
small with something that was feasible, something that you could build with enough effort, enough investment, money, time, get it out there, get it started. Now, down the line, if when you are successful, I'm not going to say if, when you are successful, when you become a huge success, right? You get so many customers and visitors and whatever it is on your site or you using your service, all of a sudden you're a mega success. Great. But the challenge with that is that success can be your kind of worst enemy. If you
Yeah.
haven't built a software architecture that you can scale, that you can change things in, that you can remove a piece and add a new piece and grow, then you're going to be in trouble. So you have to apply some really good practices from the beginning, right? That's
Yes.
actually something that we are going to have a good presentation, second presentation today, right? Andy is going to talk about that. Build an architecture which can grow. It's not everyone who starts to build with an enterprise scenario from the beginning. You start as a small business, and then you grow, and then you grow more, and then all of a sudden you're a success, and crap, your architecture falls apart because it wasn't built for thousands and thousands of visitors.
Yep, that's
This
right.
can be a real challenge. And
Yes.
yeah, it's very exciting times to be in, but it can be a problem if your system is not scalable enough. You may be losing business when you are a success, and nobody.
Yeah,
wants
and when people come
Mhm.
and they grow and your traffic is growing, you just
Yep.
growing. There's no time for you to rewrite again. That's the point. That's the problem, right? I seen so many startups fail or companies fail because they were unable to scale their systems.
That's right. That's very important. And now on the far end of that, we're talking from something feasible, affordable, small, growing, 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 becoming successful. Sure. That's not the reality for many people. They start sort of on the opposite end of things. They start more on the enterprise side of things, which is actually going to very soon be our first presentation of today. In the enterprise space, but actually important for everyone. But for enterprises, it is an absolute go, no go thing. They have to have the security in check. They have to have traces and audits and be compliant and these kinds of things. And those are extremes that you also have to take into account.
Yeah. So today, any software you build today, I
Yep.
call it secure first code. Okay. I said, as a software developers, we don't think of security when we are building our first screen, when we are building our first part of the software. What I call it, our software should be secure first, accountable first approach. Forget the code first. Okay. Coding is, we already have master coding now. In the
Yep.
past 20 years, 25 years, we know how to code. Now we need to, as a software architect, if you want to become a software architect or you are an existing architect, you
Yep.
need to think from day one. If you are storing your user ID, password, email, how are you storing them so they are secure? How are you transferring them so they are secure? How is your password? Is that readable through the web? That's
Person-
very important.
Personal
Same thing-
identifier
exactly.
data, data sovereignty, and other all kinds of rules that you have to take into account when you're building something.
Yep.
Maybe
And then
you can
yeah.
get away with a few things maybe when you're small enough, but once you get large enough, you're going to get slaughtered if you're not compliant, right? You're going to
Correct.
get compliancy requirements from the customers that you work with, and you're going to have to prove that you are compliant in order for them to be able to do business with you at all.
Yeah.
Which is a
And
whole game.
And
Yeah.
you hear these stories all day. Oh, this company got hacked. This company, Target got hacked. Equifax got 330 million people's Americans' data got stolen, include credit card, Social Security. So that has to be your day one architecture requirement, right?
Yes,
And then
I actually had hair standing up on my arms when you said that Equifax thing. It's like, ooh, it's
Yeah,
scary.
like somebody has literally my all credit cards, my bank account, my password, social security. So literally they can go and buy a car on my name today. That's what
Yeah,
happened, right? It's
exactly.
because somebody architected the system wrong. Okay. And the same thing with the accountable. We have to trace everything, the audit logs, the exception handling, the error handling, logging, all that has to be part of your day one architecture. That's
So
how good architects do this, build software.
exactly right. Yes. And so that having that said, there are a lot of things that we as architects have to take into account. And this picture here is not for everyone to sort of read every line and understand and memorize, and we're not going to do a quiz. But the point of this is that there are these things and more things. There are so many things that we as architects have to take into account, have to remember to evaluate when it comes to security, code reviews, code quality. How can we deploy this thing and integrate and scale? There are so many things, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, when a lot of architects they miss the point that software architecture is not just, you know, building the architecture design and document, right? It's more about software architect is the centerpiece. The person software architect is the center. I say quarterback for a football team. It's a captain for a cricket team. They are the guy who are the glue between the business side, the project management side. So they include in the requirements, make sure the business is what they're talking about, that's clearly defined and easily understandable by the developers who are writing the code, because
Yep.
if that part is wrong, everything is wrong.
Everything is wrong.
And
You're
architects should also make sure the technology decisions they are making, make sure they don't pick older technology that's not gonna be workable in next 2 years.
exactly
So
right.
yeah, and then obviously the communication. As a software architect, not only you have to know how to write good, speak good, but also how to present, because you're going to eventually present to the business stakeholders, you are going to present to end customers, and you have to be also a leader and people person. Because as you said, Magnus, we were talking earlier, you
Yep.
said it, that if you can't make your developers happy, your team happy, you
Mhm.
won't be, they won't, you won't get productive from that.
Exactly. We're going to dive into some of those maybe less expected questions during the panels. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to make people happy and how to be sort of the center point between business stakeholders and end users and technical people. How the architect has to be the glue in the center of all of this. And like
Yep.
you said, the quarterback. Very, very valid points there. So finally, we have arrived at a picture of different kinds of architects, and we have several architects here today ready to present for us one after another. We're going to introduce them one after another, and we're going to talk. We're going to hear them listen, and we're going to ask them some questions about their experience as architects. They're going to share their knowledge with us. It's going to be great. So I think we have all of these represented today, right?
Yes, we do. And I think so just quickly, application architect, we call somebody who's architecting is an application, just an application. For example, you can be a .NET architect, you can be a Java architect.
Yeah.
That means you're only building something in Java. Then there's a web architect, they are responsible for building a website or web application. Then cloud architects they are like yourself, Magnus is cloud architect. So they are kind of handling the Azure and AWS. And then security architects, their focus is just how to keep control, manage and build enterprise and cloud and software security.
Yep.
And then the last one is enterprise architect. And you want to talk about a little bit more about cloud and enterprise architect, and then invite Naveen.
Yeah, exactly. So we have all kinds of architects again, right? And now in modern times, often we have the back end system that used to be a server somewhere on premise in the company, right? But we are seeing more and more now that companies are taking a bet at the cloud as their back end system. So the cloud architect that's someone who just a person like me, right? I'm a cloud architect. And we're going to listen to a great cloud architect here later today, Vishwas. And cloud architecture has become a very central thing because it's become the glue of the user experience. Because a user experience today, there's some kind of a web presence. There can even be an application, a client, right? Depending on who is using the system. But customer facing is probably a web, and then together with that web, maybe a mobile experience.
Yep.
But the web and the mobile experience need to have a backend, and oftentimes today, more often we find that people are starting to put this backend, this shared backend, in the cloud as a cloud backend system. So that's a very, very important piece in modern systems design today to use the cloud.
Yeah, and then I think we also have, then you need some kind of web API or some kind of API or microservices that communicating between the backend data and the front end. So we have a session on microservices as well, where one of our architects is going to talk about microservices architecture.
So we have a very, very exciting schedule ahead of us. We're definitely going to enjoy all of this. I'm going to sit here glued to the screen and listen to all the great architects present. We're going to call the first one. And we're going to start big. We're going to start really big with the biggest systems you can imagine. We're going to start with the enterprise. And speaking to us today about the enterprise is a very good friend and enterprise architect, Naveen. Welcome to the show, Naveen. Oh, I can't hear you.
Naveen.
He is still talking, but I cannot hear you.
I did math.
There you are.
Yes. So that is the whole logic I'll put in my presentation. How one piece does not fit an enterprise. So we have to think about whole ecosystem. So that is the way we have to think about security, software, technology, business process, and rather the whole enterprise as an enterprise architect. So that is the core learning I have to share.
And Naveen, I believe you are joining us from Finland. How's things there? How are things there?
Okay, Finland is getting warmer, like 12 degrees in daytime, and nights are still cool, 4 to 5 degrees, and things are pretty good. Although the population is very, small in number, so the corona is there, but it's not so much cases. So it's sort of stagnant. Yeah. So it's
good to know.
So all right.
You will don't blink. You will miss the Finnish summer. It's gonna be 1.5 days, and then
yeah, that is a very popular saying. So we have been here since last year, so we know that the summer is just the moment you buy your tracking suit and you start preparing for the summer camp, it's gone.
Yeah, then it's gone. Exactly right. So
all right, it's all you, Naveen.
You can go ahead and take it away and talk to us about enterprise architecture.